Today we celebrate the feast of the Holy Family of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph as they appear here. After celebrating the birth of Jesus, we now focus on a very important aspect where Jesus was born, the important aspect of family. Because in Jesus' life, that family was very important. And to us, family is a very important aspect because it shapes very deeply what we become and who we are. Let me tell you a story of one man in Africa. There was a man, he was a Christian, a devout Catholic. And this man was deeply in love with Jesus. He desired to have 12 children like the apostles. And on each day the child was born, he had 12 children. And on each day the child was born, he would go to the saint's calendar, he looks at the saint of the day, and he gives that child that name of the saint. And if it didn't match, maybe it was a boy or a girl, he would look within the week and name the child that name of the saint of the day. This man desired that at least one of his sons would serve the Lord, would become a priest. So he sent some of his children through the seminary, but the man did not live long enough to realize his dream. He passed on, but he left his children. And many years after his death, his last-born son, who had graduated from the university, he had gotten himself a job, a very well-paying job in the university. This son was called by the Lord to go and serve as a priest. So this young man resigned from his job. He went through the 9 years of seminary formation, and he later became a priest. This man, whom I'm telling you about, is relating to the first reading. The first reading has these words: "The Lord honors the father in his children." This man I'm telling you about is my father, and I am his last-born child. He never lived to see me as a priest, but I never knew his dream. But because of what he did in our family, I chose to become a priest. Dear brothers and sisters, Jesus being born into a human family was a real event. It was real. Jesus did not just pretend to be human. He was human. He was real. He became a son to Mary and Joseph. And the gospel today has given us the crisis they went through, the responsibility of the father and the mother to defend the child. And that crisis just explains to us how much Jesus needed this family. But it also tells us a lot about our families. Our families have so many crises, problems, challenges, just like what we have just had in the gospel. But none of those challenges, none of those crises, none of those problems should break up the family. A family is supposed to remain together. Sirach, in the first reading, is elaborating on the fourth commandment. You know the fourth commandment? Honor your father and mother. And in Matthew 22, verse 34 to 40, Jesus was asked the question, what is the greatest commandment? And Jesus said, Love your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul. And he said, that is the greatest and the first commandment. Jesus was actually summarizing the first 3 of the 10 commandments that deal with the love of God. And he said the second one is this: love your neighbor as you love yourself. And this one was summarizing the other 7 of the 10 commandments. And guess what? The first of those 7 is the 4th commandment: honor your father and your mother. So, the most important of the love of human beings is to honor your father and your mother. What does that communicate to us? The most immediate neighbor you have is your father and your mother. And this is where blessings in our lives begin, or curses begin. Honoring our mother and our father. You may ask yourself, why are my prayers not being answered? Check. How is your relationship with your parents? Dear brothers and sisters, this is the most important commandment. And Sirach has gone on to tell us that whoever honors his father, when he prays, he is heard. Whoever honors his father, when he prays, he is heard. He stores up riches when he reveres his mother. Yeah, you may ask yourself, why are my prayers not being answered? How is your relationship with your parents? St. Paul in the second reading reminds us of a very important thing, that we are God's chosen ones. Remember the theme of Christmas? The theme of Christmas is that the Son of God became a son of man in order that a son of man, that is me and you, may become a child of God. And so St. Paul is reminding us that we are a chosen race. God chose us to be his children out of love. And so St. Paul reminds us of that aspect. And St. John, whom we celebrated this morning, tells us in his first letter, chapter 4, verse 8, that whoever is without love does not know God, because God is love. The other name of God is love. One writer, I was reading about what to prepare today, and I landed on one writer who said, in a family, you know, the 2 heads of the family, of the house, the mother and the father, they should be in a relationship that is in form of a triangle. God, husband, wife. All the other way around. God, wife, husband. You know, the husband is supposed to be the head of the family. Although sometimes, sorry to the fathers who are here, sometimes the husbands want to choose the other. You know how there is something scary outside in the night, and the father and the mother in bed sleeping, and they hear something that scares them outside, and the father taps the woman. Can you go and check? You're supposed to be the head of the family. So it is supposed to be God, husband, and wife, not God, wife, husband. So St. Paul is giving us a dress code that we should put on as children of God, and that should be love. And that love must be built within our families. First of all, we have our own families where we come from. If there is no love there, you're not going to find it anywhere. And then secondly, we together here are members of one family, and God is our Father. When you pray the prayer of the Our Father, I don't know what you feel, but I feel so honored. Because Jesus said, Our Father. When they asked him, teach us how to pray, he said, our Father. He did not say, this is how you'll pray, my Father. No. He said, our Father, me and you. That was an honor. And St. Paul is reminding us of how we are greatly honored. And he goes on to give counsel to the married couples, because this is where family begins, the married couples. And that is a very important sacrament of matrimony. Wives, submit to your husbands. Are there wives here? Submit to your husbands. The other night I told you, be blind to the faults of your husbands. Because a perfect match is between a blind woman and a deaf husband. Because the blind wife does not see the faults of the husband, and the deaf husband does not listen to the naggings of the wife. So, wives, be subordinate to your husbands in love. Husbands, be deaf. Play deaf to the naggings of the wife. And then he has something for the children. Children, your parents are always right. Even when they eat what is yours, they are always right. So children, be obedient to your parents. We are all children of God. Be obedient to our parent God. Each family member is called to holiness, and that should be our goal. Let us pray on this day of the family that we may be united in love, and love may be our guide. And this will lead all of us as a family, without leaving out anyone, into the front door of God.